Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I know I'm a little bit late, but it's okay because I have a really decadent, beautiful cookies and cream red velvet brownie recipe. These taste like a beautiful dessert from a bakery. They're so moist, so beautiful. Look at those layers, and it's actually pretty easy. Just take it step by step. I have all your ingredients laid out here for the red velvet brownie part of the recipe. To start, we are going to whisk up 2 large eggs. Just whisk them up in a small bowl. This is not the bowl we're going to make the batter in, so just choose a small bowl. It doesn't matter. And then we're going to take a 1 stick or half a cup of butter, unsalted butter, pretty please. And we are going to melt that. You could just melt it in the microwave, melt it in a big bowl because this is the bowl we're going to make our batter in. We're going to add 1 cup of white sugar, and we're going to slowly add these ingredients. And the techniques involved in pastry are what make the pastries so delicious. So follow these techniques. I promise it's tedious, but it's worth it. So as you can see, as I mix the butter into the sugar, you can tell that it starts to melt and make this really beautiful silky texture. We're gonna go ahead and we are going to add our vanilla extract now, just 2 teaspoons. And then we're gonna just continue mixing. Mix, 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 and you'll see eventually it will all come together and just be this really pretty, silky texture. Look at it. It's beautiful. It's just butter, sugar, and vanilla. What? Pastry is beautiful. So we're gonna add our 1/4 cup of cocoa powder. You can use any kind you want. You could use a really fancy kind if you like. I really had trouble finding cocoa powder, so I'm just using Hershey's. It doesn't really matter that much, but if you want to bring out your fancy cocoa powder and make this a bomb dessert, you do whatever makes you happy. So now we're gonna add 1 tablespoon of pink or red food coloring. I only had pink, but when it mixed with like the cocoa powder and everything, it ended up turning red, so it worked out. And we're also gonna add 3/4 of a teaspoon of white vinegar at this time too. I kind of forgot to film it. But add your vinegar with your food coloring here. Mix, 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 mix it all together. Isn't it beautiful? Look how red and nice. And then we're gonna pour in our 2 whisked up eggs. I like to whisk them up beforehand because it helps incorporate everything together. It helps make sure that the yolks and the whites are completely combined and not kind of, separating in the batter. So make sure you whisk this up completely. Once you add your flour, you really don't want to mix this up too much. There isn't a lot of leavening in this. So really make sure everything's completely combined, because you can whisk the ever-loving heck out of it at this point. It doesn't really matter. But make sure it's really nicely combined. Beautiful. Look how nice and red and pretty that is. And then we are going to sift in 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour. I always sift my flour. I would recommend always sifting it. You never know when there could be like a lump or something. I recommend. If you like baking, I would get a sifter. And we're gonna fold this in. So just kind of gently go around the edges and cut through the middle and just very gently fold this in. It looks like it's not gonna come together. Like it just looks like it's completely messed up and it's all done for. But I promise, just slowly fold the flour in and you'll see eventually it will come together. See? There it is. It's coming together. But as soon as you see no lumps of flour, no white specks, stop. You don't want to overmix this. You'll be really, really sad if you overmix it. It'll just be really kind of just too dense and not nice. You're going to want to put this in a 350-degree oven for 22 to 24 minutes. You just want a toothpick or knife inserted in the middle to barely come out with just a little bit of really moist crumbs. Like, you don't want it to be too overbaked. You don't want it to be underbaked. You really watch it. And after you take it out of the oven, let it sit in the pan for about 30 minutes, and then we want to overline the pan, because then you can grab the foil carefully, don't burn yourself on the pan, but you can grab the overlying foil and pull it out and move it to a baking rack so it can continue cooling. I would cool it for another 30 minutes, and then you can put it in the fridge. I would put it in the fridge as long as you can, about an hour if you can. If you can't, 30 minutes will be fine, but you really want the brownies to be completely cooled, like cold, because that'll make our next steps way easier, and you don't want everything to kind of melt together. Then you won't get those really nice distinct layers that have a lot of different texture. All right, and now we are going to move on to our buttercream frosting. I'm so excited. It's so wonderful. Here are your ingredients. Super easy, unsalted butter. I added some vanilla. It wasn't in the recipe, but things always need vanilla. 3 tablespoons heavy cream and 1 3/4 cup of powdered sugar. Very easy recipe. So you want to put your softened butter into a big bowl and whip it up with your mixer. See, you want it to be a little bit lighter in color and fluffier. You may have to scrape down the bowl a couple times, but it'll come together. I promise it will. So then you're going to carefully add your 1 3/4 cup of confectioner's sugar or powdered sugar and mix that up. It's another one of those things where it looks like it's not going to come together, but it is, I promise. You want this to be a really thick buttercream. Look how beautiful. You want it to be very, very thick and not liquidy or very loose, because we want this to be a really distinct layer. So I'm adding my teaspoon of vanilla and my 3 tablespoons of heavy cream, and we're going to continue whipping this up. Like I said, we want this to be stiff, but we don't want it to be like too hard, too soft, you know, kind of gauge it. It needs to like stand up on its own. And once you put it in the fridge and stuff, it will cool down and get harder. So keep that in mind. But if it is too loose, maybe add some more powdered sugar. If it's too thick, maybe add some more cream. Look how beautiful. So now we're going to crush up some Oreos and we're going to fold those in. You can use as many Oreos as you like. I used 7 Oreos in this recipe, but you could use as many as you would like. Look how beautiful that is. This layer is almost like a white chocolate, like candy bar kind of layer. It's beautiful, and I could just eat that whole bowl. So you see how you can just pull those brownies out? Makes it so much easier. So you can just put that on top, put your cookies and cream layer right on top, and try your best to kind of get it to the edges, but you know, just make it look as cute as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. This, with how the brownies are, it's kind of hard to make them look beautiful, but once you cut them into pieces and stuff, yeah, it'll come together. And I'm gonna put this back into the fridge for about 30 minutes while I make our ganache. Pretty straightforward. You're going to heat up half a cup of cream over the stove. You can microwave it as well. You just want to bring it to a light boil. As soon as it comes to a boil, take it off the heat immediately, and you're going to pour it over about 4 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate. That's about half a cup. You can make as much ganache as you want. I can't stop you. Pretty easy, pretty straightforward. This is one of the easiest ways to make ganache. You're just going to want to mix it up. And the hot cream melts the chocolate pretty quickly. If you're not using chocolate chips, make sure you break up the chocolate into small pieces. That'll make your life way easier. Just keep mixing, mixing, mixing. It'll come together, and make sure that there's no lumps of chocolate. And then we are going to add 2 tablespoons of softened unsalted butter. Make sure it's softened, or it'll bring down the temperature of the chocolate too fast and it won't mix together and incorporate well. As you can see, it gets so beautiful and shiny. The butter helps bring this together and make it just beautiful. That's such beautiful, easy chocolate. You're just gonna take your brownies out of the fridge one more time, and you're gonna pour all of that chocolate all over the top. I did a bad job at making this look beautiful, but honestly, it doesn't matter because it's gonna be so tasty. Even though it may be, a little bit sloppy, it's okay. It's still beautiful and perfect in its own way. The chocolate may melt the buttercream a tiny bit. As you can see on the top, it kind of came through a little bit. It doesn't bother me. If it bothers you, add more chocolate. And we're going to chop those up, make them into beautiful squares. I made them pretty big, and I will say I had to cut these in half for a serving. They're very, very, very decadent, but so delicious. Look at all those layers. Make sure they cool completely and the chocolate is completely set before you cut them, so you get those really good layers. I cut some before the chocolate was like completely set, and it didn't look as cute. You couldn't see the distinct layers. And yeah, that's it. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. It seems like a pretty complex dessert. It's just a lot of steps, and if you take it slow and do all the steps in order, it'll come out perfectly. You just gotta be patient. I hope you guys like this recipe. I know it was a bit more complex than the other recipes, but I know you guys can do it. I know you're smart, and I know you have the passion for baking you need. And yeah, thank you guys so much for supporting me on Patreon. I decided to put patrons at the end of videos again. I appreciate all the support. Any money donated on Patreon goes straight back into the channel to buy ingredients for recipes. This is something that I'm kind of dumping my own money into. The recipes aren't cheap to make, especially baking things, so I appreciate all of the Patreon donations. It really helps me continue to make these videos, and I hope you guys are loving these series, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you, and bye. Really quick, I just wanted to give you guys a little update. I do have some more ideas for the channel besides just making cooking videos. This probably is going to turn into more of a variety, slice of life kind of channel. I have some ideas for maybe some casual vlogs or more get ready with me's, more talking things. I really am not interested in doing commentary. I get questions and people trying to send me topics, and every day people want me to do more commentary, and I'm just not really interested in it. I have an idea for something that may be considered commentary, but it's not about YouTubers. It's more about Food Network star people. I don't want to give too much information, but I have some ideas, and yeah, I would also like to maybe do some more fitness things or poll things for you guys in the future. I have so many ideas, and I just want to make this channel a more positive, fun space. And I'm glad that you guys are enjoying it. I'm glad that you guys are seeing how much happier I am, and it's nice. It's been really fun, and thank you. And yeah, I think that's it. Okay.